na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri hii yetu. Twakuomba ututeremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi hii yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. All right, Sergeant at Arms, ring the bell for 10 minutes.
Honorable Martha Wangari, currently the Speaker presiding over the business of the National Assembly this morning, has directed that the Sergeant at Arms ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes. And this is pursuant to Standing Orders of the House, Standing Orders number 34, that give the powers to the Speaker to give these kind of directives when the House lacks the requisite quorum to commence business at a particular time when the House is sitting. As members of the National Assembly make their way into the chamber to raise the number of at least 50 members of Parliament, allow me to sort of keep taking you through the order paper this morning on some of the agenda that the National Assembly is set to consider. And away from the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing of the illicit import, export, as well as transfer of ownership of cultural property, the House is also set to consider the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill number 2. This is National Assembly Bills number 45 of the year 2022 by Honorable Abdul Dawood. The House will be resuming debate on this particular motion. It is a bill on the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill, and will be making their inputs in regards to the proposals seeking to amend the bill. The loans contracted by the national government between May 2022 as well as 2023 is a motion that the House will be considering this morning. The order paper is somewhat full of motions, as the reports of the Auditor General for the 23 non-compliant state corporations is another motion that members of the National Assembly will be considering this morning. This particular motion is by the Chairperson Public Investments Committee on Social Services and Administration, as well as Matters Agriculture. This particular motion seeks to have the House adopt the report of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services, as well as Administration and Agriculture, on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the 23 non-compliant state corporations. The committee laid its report on the table of the House on Wednesday, 23rd August of 2023. Members of the Pan-African Parliament will be seeking to have the House consider the proceedings of the second ordinary session of the 6th Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Parliament seeks to have the House note the report of the record of the proceedings of the second ordinary session of the 6th Pan-African Parliament held in Midrand, South Africa, from the period ranging from the 15th of May to the 2nd of June 2023, and the report by the Pan-African Parliament, a member representing the Pan-African Parliament, was laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 23rd of August 2023. The House will this morning also consider the proceedings of the 2023 United Nations High-Level Political Forum on the Sustainable Development. This particular motion will be spearheaded by the Vice Chairperson, Parliamentary Caucus on Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and Matters Business. That the House notes the report of the Parliamentary Caucus on Matters Sustainable Development Goals and Business of the proceedings of the 2023 United Nations.
Order number 1.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, 23rd November 2023, morning sitting. 1, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following constituencies for the year ended 30th June 2022 and the certificates therein. Kapseret, Mvita, Nyali, and Starehe. 2, reports of the Auditor General. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the member for Tigania East, who is very busy on phone, conversing in Kimeru.
Honorable John Mutunga. All right, continue, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. 2, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2021 and 30th June 2022 and the certificates therein in respect of Eldoro Girls High School, St. Patrick's Naitiri High School, S.A. Colonia Boys High School, St. Thomas Aquinas Madende Secondary School, Seco Girls High School, Kanyawanga High School, Kitumbi High School, and Mivumoni Secondary School. 3, Auditor General's performance audit reports and financial statements on contracting of external loans for public development projects for the year ended 30th June 2023 and the certificates therein by the National Treasury. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Charles Ngusia for CIOC.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 22nd November 2023. Report of the Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee on a study to the Republic of South Africa from 21st to 25th August 2023. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next order. What is out of order, Honorable Ikiara?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can the honorable member correct the information, false information that the papers are being laid on our Wednesday? Well, today is a Thursday. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable CNN, did you say Wednesday?
Thank you. Today is Thursday. Thursday, 9:30.
Honorable members, you'll forgive Honorable CNN. We are not usually having morning sittings on Thursday. Maybe that is the reason. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements. Order number 8,
Honorable Deko, what is out of order? The reason you have to wait a while is because you are not using the intervention button.
Okay. Thank
You don't
Madam
have a card.
Yes, I forgot.
Honorable members, you'll carry your cards to the house at all times. Not raise your hands. Honorable Njedi, carry your cards to the house. Honorable Deko.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to bring to your attention that on the 18th of October this year, I made a statement on the floor of the House requesting for an answer from the Departmental Committee of Social Protection. And I was given, you gave the direction, or the chair gave the direction that I will get the reply within 2 weeks. On the 8th of this month again, I had another statement regarding abduction of 2 of my constituents who are still missing. And despite my protest that time that 2 weeks will be long, we settled as per the direction of the chair at the time. However, to date, I've been trying to chase around to find out whether these statements have been answered, but nothing is forthcoming. I need direction and guidance from the chair. Thank you.
Honorable Deko, you said social protection and which one?
Internal Affairs.
Who is the chair? Social protection? Not in the house. Who is the vice chair? And this takes us back to the discussion by the majority leader. The chair has to be in the house. Who is the vice chair? Social protection? Also not in the house. Any member? Majority leader, you will take this one. Please, do what you have to do, but these statements need to get to the House. And honorable members, you know we are almost breaking for the long recess, for 2 months. These statements should be processed before then. Honorable Tongoyo, Chair for Internal Security, also not in the House. Okay. Vice Chair is around. Can you comment on it?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I'm around, Honorable Tongoyo is also around. We were in discussion with the ministry, but the PS and the CS were not available since Tuesday. But they already have a response. So from this sitting, I'll be able to follow up so that we'll be able to deliver that even this afternoon.
So can it be done in the afternoon today?
Yes, I'll chase up with the CS or the PS.
Okay.
Thank
Honorable Deko, that's all right?
You're right.
Thank you. Next, Honorable Njedi, what is out of order?
Madam Speaker, actually my card is in the machine.
Your?
I have the card. With the
I can see you.
Okay.
That is why I gave you the...
Madam Speaker, I also did raise a question on 15th of August to the CS transport regarding a road A1, Kakamega Kabrengu. The status actually is incomplete and it's a World Bank sponsored project.
Did you raise a statement or did you raise a question?
A question to the CS, and there has not been any response to that effect, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Njedi, you know the CS comes to the floor to answer the question. So have you filed the question or did you request for a statement?
I filed a question.
You filed a question,
Yes,
which has not been scheduled.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Yeah. Majority Leader?
Chair, there are a number of questions. You remember we put off the CSs this week and next week. So I just want to beg the members' indulgence to probably request for a written statement to be sent to the committee because of the pending government bills on Wednesdays. We're not able to have the CS, but at least that question was scheduled to be amongst the ones to be answered. But if the member would desire a written response, maybe we can organize to have a written response related to the member.
Honorable Njedi.
Madam Speaker, I would prefer actually the CS to appear as he does in the open
Then
plenary.
it should be in the batch to be answered the next time he appears, as the majority leader has confirmed. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Consideration of the Consolidated Fund Services Expenditures for the Supplementary Estimates number 1 of 2023-2024. Question to be put.
Honorable members, I therefore put the question that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the Consolidated Fund Services under Supplementary Estimates 1 for the financial year 2023-2024, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th November 2023. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. 1970 UNESCO Convention on the Means of Prohibiting and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export, and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Property. Resumption of debate.
Honorable members, this is an ongoing motion. If you have spoken to it, I have 13 members who have already contributed, and we'll resume. We have a balance of 1 hour and 45 minutes. The first chance will go to the member for Mandera West, Honorable Adan Haji.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I think it is very vital to make sure that we pass this law such that our very important artifacts, cultural heritages, and others which have been taken away by our colonial masters for many years should come back and be used for the benefit and the historical memories of Kenyans. At the same time, a lot of our indigenous products, such as the chiondo, and even some of our teas, which we grow and then they are relabeled and mixed with other teas there, and they become patented by other countries. And therefore, they enjoy the right of ownership of those products. And this law should be enacted so that what belongs to us must be protected, and it should be report back again to make sure that all those products that have been patented by other countries, for example, this basket called chiondo, which is the Kenyan basket, produced, made by our mothers for many years here, are now patented in Japan. So if we want to put chiondo into the international market, we have to go through Japan instead of us doing it directly and benefiting us. Also, as far as cultural heritage is concerned, our cultures are slowly eroding. I sincerely thank our community called Masai, who has kept their culture and who is marketing their culture and bringing a lot of foreign currency into this country. It's not that the other communities of Kenya do not have cultures that can attract tourists, that can bring money, that can earn hard currency into this country, but unfortunately, slowly and slowly, our cultures are disappearing. We are emulating foreign cultures, in terms of our dress, in terms of our eating, even in terms of our walking style. And this, I think, should end, and we should be proud of our heritage, we should be proud of our cultures, and we should protect what belongs to us. With these few remarks, I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this matter. I rise to support the motion, but let me begin by expressing some concern that has bothered me for a while. I'm aware that the particular convention in question, the UNESCO Convention on the Means for Prohibiting and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export, and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Property, 1970 Convention, and its sister convention, the 1954 UNESCO Convention for the Protection of Cultural Property in the Event of Armed Conflict, or popularly known as the Hague Convention, have been in existence for almost, the first one for over close to 70 years. I'm very curious why Kenya is not among the first 143 countries that signed the 1970 Convention and the 135 counties that have signed the Hague Convention. Madam Speaker, cultural property represents the collective human knowledge and represent our common heritage. It is therefore important that we adopt multilateral global frameworks to preserve as well as to combat illegal trade in them and assist countries who are interested in getting restitution and return of their artifacts. Scientific, historical, artistic, or religious material, if you look at them, represent sometimes very indigenous knowledge. For example, in this country, we have family planning techniques from the coast that are not patented by way of scientific patents, but which are very effective. And these items, as well as the other knowledge that humanity has gathered along the years, it's very important that we protect them. By ratifying this treaty, Kenya will be able to access global inventories of our cultural items, but also to have the import, export, and exchange mechanisms that will help us trace where our cultural heritage are. We will also be able now to enjoy the benefits of a global criminal justice system so that we can trace and track those who have traded in our cultural items illegally, but also enable us to have information sharing, support educational tours, and most importantly, assist in restitution and return mechanisms for our cultural items. Let me just mention a few. In total, it is estimated that we have 32,500 artifacts of Kenyan origin spread all over the world. Some we have been able to recover and return, especially between 2011 and 2022. In particular, in 2011, we received 39 Vigango from California State University in Fullerton. And that in 2019, we received another 30 Vigangos, which were repatriated from Denver Museum of Natural History. 2022, Illinois State University repatriated 37 Vigangos. And in the same year, Indianapolis Museum at Newfields sent another 18 Vigangos. But there are so many cultural artifacts that we have identified their location and are working, and Kenya should pursue their return. We have the Islamic manuscripts of the Witu Kingdom, which were repatriated in 1890. We have the Throne of Chairs, Viti za Enzi, kutoka Pwani, which should be returned. We have several similar household items which are at Pitts Rivers Museum, which left the country in 1895. We have the Pukomo Sacred Drum, Gadzi, which is at the British Museum of History, repatriated in 1900. Most importantly also, we have the remain and personal leadership items of Koitalel Arap Samoe, which were repatriated in 1900. And as I've mentioned, there are still other 18 Vigangos at University of Wyoming Museum. And then we have the famous Ghost and Darkness, Man-Eaters, Lions of the Savo, which are at the Fields Museum in Chicago. These lions actually were taken over by Lieutenant Colonel Patterson after he killed them, and he used them as a rug. He used to sit and drink whiskey on them. But in 1924, he sold them to University of Chicago for $5,000, and they are still there, and we need to return them. We have 80 Kamba ethnographic collection at Rattenstruck Jost Museum in Cologne, and there are 550 Kenyan cultural collections at Wilcotton Museum in Frankfurt. Those are just some of the examples of the 32,500 cultural artifacts having Kenya as their origin, which are spread around the world. So, Madam Speaker, it is very important that we endorse the ratification of this particular treaty, but also call upon the government to, as quickly as possible, begin the process of ratifying the 1954 Hague Treaty, so that we can recover all this invaluable cultural property of the Republic of Kenya. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I fully support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next chance will go to the member for Tarbo, Honorable Janet Sitiene.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also wish to add my voice to this motion. On the onset, I want to support this motion because it is significant that the cultural properties belonging to the Republic of Kenya have in the past been exported to other countries, and it's time that we actually accepted to approve the ascension of this convention so that Kenya can actually receive back or get restitution of such cultural property. Madam Speaker, the process of ascension is very necessary as it speaks directly to the sovereignty of the Kenyan state and its people. The benefits include economic, cultural, and social benefits, and our identity to have back these artifacts. I want to cite one in case. We have, during the British colonialism, one of our greatest leaders was killed, and his head was taken by the British. And up to date, Koitalel Samoei's skull has never been returned. We know there are other artifacts that have been returned, but we still want to use this opportunity to demand back his skull so that we can honorably bury it in Kenya. So, Madam Speaker, I really support this ascension of the 1970 UNESCO so that the import, export, and transfer of cultural properties can be preserved and protected, because that actually is our rich cultural heritage that we have, and we need to conserve it. We need to protect it jealously, and we need to get restitution for the many artifacts, just like my honorable colleague has mentioned, that there are so many of them outside there. And therefore, as Kenya, as a country, we need to get back those artifacts. And therefore, I stand to support this motion so that Kenya can be part of it, and more so that me, as one of the leaders of the Kalenjin, can have back the skull of our freedom fighter, Koitalel Samoei. So, Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion that will allow our country to get back our rich heritage so that we can preserve it for our generations that will come for posterity. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity so that I can support this motion that we need to preserve, to protect, and conserve our rich cultural heritage through restitution of our artifacts. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Member for Saku, Onaboraso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Speaker. I rise to support this particular convention to be approved by this House for Kenya to be part of that global entity that looks at many things. First of all, the countries in the West, or those so-called the developed countries, are very particular about the intellectual property rights. That had they been the ones who came up with things like M-Pesa, today M-Pesa, using it will be very expensive for all the other countries that never invented it. But at the same time, they'll be making whooping billions out of that particular invention. In this particular case, Madam Speaker, for those of us in the developing world, during the colonial days, even today, a lot of artifacts are being taken out of our country. Even plants, artifacts that are done by the courier shop owners. For these people realize that there's a lot of value in what we are able to handcraft with our own hands, those things that we were able to inherit from our forefathers. But because the rich or the smart are able to use all the available technology to be able to identify what is of value, what historically can stand the sands of the time, to be used by generations or to be seen by generation. Madam Speaker, if you go to the museums around the world, in US, UK, in Europe, most of those museums, actually the main attractive cultural properties in those museums are things that they were able to get from Africa, the West, the East, the South, and some they were able to get them during their military expedition when they were fighting the Africans to dispossess them of land or to dethrone the African leaders of those days. Madam Speaker, UNESCO protects places like World Heritage Sites, like what we have in Lamu, in parts of Central, in Rift Valley, because they attach educational value to most of these sites. So for that reason, we as a country, I think still we are not yet endowed to have those intellectual capacity to be able to protect what is rightfully ours. For that reason, I think we must come on board and support this particular convention so that it becomes part of our laws as per Article 2.6 of our Constitution, so that we'll be able to protect what is rightfully ours, which have been taken away, or what somebody else might attempt to take away at some times in the history of this nation. With those remarks, I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Bonchari, Honorable Charles Onchoke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I rise to support this motion. I think it's long overdue that Kenya got its act right in terms of finding means of protecting its heritage and cultural property. If you look around at our museums, the Kenya National Archive Services, the items that are in the shelves are either very few, they're in poor shape, and the reason being what is of value and what is really the Kenyan origin was taken away from us against our will. So we need to assent to this convention so that we're able to protect and prohibit the illicit or the illegal importation and export of these materials. Equally, Madam Speaker, as a country, we need to really recognize and come to terms that our identity, our heritage is our cultural property, which is defined in some way through language and some of the items that we make from our own creativity. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I would suggest that our government puts resources, adequate resources, for those institutions that are supposed to be helping us in protecting and conserving our heritage, our cultural property, like the museums and the Kenya National Archive Services. You go to Fort Jesus, again, you will find that most of the items there are either donated or they are not what has been acquired and preserved properly by the relevant state department, probably for the lack of resources. So as we move forward, Madam Speaker, there's a need to put resources, adequate resources, to be able to run this, to protect our cultural objects and artifacts properly. At the same time, have a policy that is going to promote the preservation and also the creativity of the cultural property that is slowly eroding away, slowly going away, and making us lose our identity and our heritage. Those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Member for Limuru, Honorable Kirago.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to my views on this one. I like to support the 1970 UNESCO Convention on Artifacts. Madam Speaker, we know that when the colonialists came into this country, they found our people with what they called crude technology, where we used to make our own weapons and tools. But Madam Speaker, they took all these things away from us, and they convinced the rest of other generations that in fact we were not people who had any understanding of science. Madam Speaker, some of the weapons and tools that were made before the colonialists arrived here, Madam Speaker, they required a lot of heat, a lot of understanding about the metals, refining the metals so that they are able to make iron and steel and to make the weapons or tools that we were using before the colonialists arrived. But Madam Speaker, they took away all these things so that in fact they cover that part of our history. And Madam Speaker, they later came back to train us on the same things, how to forge even djembe or lapanga. But Madam Speaker, this is a country that knew how to do the spears and bows and arrows. Madam Speaker, the other day I went to the archives in Nairobi, and I was happy to note that, although rather disappointing also for many other communities, that out of the artifacts that are there in the archives here in Nairobi, 75% are from Turkana. The rest of the other communities, Madam Speaker, they have very little or none to show. And Madam Speaker, when you are discussing this issue of artifacts, I think it's a very important issue. It is important for our history, and it is important for us to find ways to bring back what was taken away from us and to preserve what we have. Madam Speaker, we have several universities and centers of research and development in this country. And Madam Speaker, how I wish that in these universities and centers of learning, that they will have departments or units that can deal with these issues of artifacts so that, Madam Speaker, we are able to even preserve what we have for generations to come. So, Madam Speaker, I support, and I think these are very important convention for us to ratify. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I also stand to register my support for the 1970 UNESCO Convention in terms of prohibition and prevention of the illicit imports and exports and transfer of ownership of the same from our country. Honorable Speaker, I just want to give an example of the issue we had with the Chiondo basket. And this issue was in particular with the Asian countries when they sought to seek copyright for this particular item. And yet it is an item that we know originated and was designed by Kenyans. And Honorable Speaker, I remember there was such a big fracas on that particular issue until we finally had the rights of the name. Honorable Speaker, because of such issues, one of the things that I just also want to urge the committee is that even if when we are exporting, because we do have people from outside this country who would love to own the Kenyan cultural items, and when we do that, ideally as a country, we should be able to have a watermark that has brand Kenya in it, so that even if these items are sold, especially in large scale, to other countries, then it is well known what the origin of the same is. Honorable Speaker, the second issue that I think that we should also take into consideration is we need to ask ourselves as Kenyans, what are these cultural issues that we are exporting to other countries? What are these things that are known specifically to the Kenyan culture? Honorable Speaker, I'll give you an example. Like when you go to Nigeria, they have the famous jollof rice. But when you come to Kenya, we do have a similar cuisine in the name of pilau, but also we do also have Tanzanians claiming the naming rights of pilau as well. And Honorable Speaker, this is one of the areas that we also just need to protect and copyright, because culture also is about the food culture of our country. Ugali is our food culture, githeri is our food culture, how we make our fish is our food culture, and we also need to take further steps to ensure that we also have copyrights to our cuisines. Because when a visitor comes to this country and they tell you they want to have a Kenyan meal, in essence, what is a Kenyan meal? So we need to know what these things are and protect that. Honorable Speaker, our Kenyan Museum has done a very good job in terms of preserving some of the things that are dear to us. They do still have the bones, like for example, of the Maasai boy. And I know they've gone to an extent of even getting into collaboration with Google so that they can also have the same on Google. And this is knowledge that very many Kenyans do not have. Kenyans do not know that you don't have to go to the Kenyan Museum to be able to see some of the artifacts of this country, because they're actually on Google. This is information that, Honorable Speaker, needs to be out there. We need to be at a place where, as a country, we enjoy and we love speaking about our culture, the things that are dear to us, and the things that we know as a country that we hold in high regard. Honorable Speaker, to date, it still worries me that as a country we don't even have a national dress that quickly identifies and says, this is a Kenyan. When a Kenyan goes out of this country to represent Kenya in another country, do we have that national dress that says that this is a Kenyan? All we have is our sports people going in tracksuits that have the Kenyan badge. But that's not enough. We need to have a celebration. We need to have a national outfit that identifies us and says, this is a Kenyan. Some of us, when we go out there, the one thing that actually identifies us is when we wear our Kenyan wristband, which is something that has become a celebration for most people. If you walk through the Qatar airport or the Dubai airport or any other of the international airports, and you meet a Kenyan who works there and you have the wristband, they actually get excited to talk to you because they quickly realize that you're a Kenyan. Honorable Speaker, we once had an incident in one of the countries where there was a young girl who was kidnapped and maimed, and the thing that actually helped her, the good Samaritans who rescued her, is because she had the wristband. So they were able to take her to the Kenyan embassy to be able to identify and see how she can get help. So, Honorable Speaker, this is one of the things that quickly identifies us. And I'd just like to encourage the committee that you should actually take the ministry responsible for this to task. They need to give us a database list of all the artifacts in this country that identifies us directly as Kenyans, so that even if someone out there seeks to try to copyright or illegally export stuff that we consider are ours culturally, then we are able to quickly take matters into our hands and to know that this person is violating our rights. Honorable Speaker, as I finish, I just want to say, and the fact that in this house we actually the other day passed and confirmed the celebration of the 10th of October as Huduma Day, again, the ministry needs to take up the challenge and have this as a cultural celebration across the whole country. I know counties take upon themselves to celebrate their different cultures at county level, but also in terms of all of us as Kenyans, can we also celebrate our rich, diverse culture? Because I don't know how many countries in this world have the level of diversity in culture that we do have in this country. And as Kenyans, we need to celebrate that. As legislators, we need to lead from the front in terms of celebrating our culture, protecting the same, and also being our brother's keeper out there and ensuring that when you see anyone violating what is considered Kenyan culture out there, be the first ones to ensure that you report that. And it's good that we have this report because it then enables us to be able to have set regulations to enable us to protect this. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I do support the report. I thank you.
Thank you. Member for Matuga, Honorable Kasim Tandaza.
Asante Madam Speaker kwa kunipatia hii fursa kuchangia katika mjadala huu ambao ni wa umuhimu, kwa sababu mtu yeyote ambaye hathamini mila yake ama hajui alikotoka, basi huenda ikawa pia hajui anaelekea wapi, na hii ni hali ya hatari tukiangalia katika sisi wa Kenya vile tulivyo. Ukiangalia mswada huu unazungumziwa swala la zile vitu vyetu vya zamani vya thamani ambao vimeweza kupelekwa nje, kwamba visipelekwe tena, vipigwe marufuku. Na hapa tunazungumzia kwamba vile vilivyoko kule viregeshwe. Na aliyekuwa akiunga mkono mwenzangu katika mswada huu alizungumzia haswa swala la vigango ambavyo vingi ni kama ndivyo ambavyo viliweza kuchukuliwa na kupelekwa kule ughaibuni. Vigango ni vitu ambavyo hasa Wamijikenda walikuwa wanavienzi sana, na vilikuwa vinatumika katika kuleta amani, upendo na utaratibu wa mila za Wamijikenda. Ikiwa mtu atakuwa amefiliwa na mtu wake, kaburi kama kawaida linaweza kupotea, lakini kile kigango ambao ilikuwa ni mti wa madhubuti ambao hauozi, alikuwa mwenyewe anaweka, akiweka, akiwenza, akijua kwamba huyu ni babu yangu, huyu ni nyanyangu, huyu ni nani, na wakati wowote anamkumbusha, ninaleta familia pamoja, wakijua kwamba tulikuwa na nyanya yetu, tulikuwa na mzee wetu mahali hapa. Na endapo kuna ugomvi, vilikuwa vikitumika pia kwamba kigango ni ukumbusho na kinasikia wakati nyinyi mnavyoteta, na ipo haja ya kuleta uwiano katika familia. Na ni muhimu hii historia iweze kuhifadhiwa na viweze kurudishwa, kwani saa hizi tukizungumzia katika utalii ambayo ndio tunaotegemea sana maeneo ya pwani, tunazungumzia tu mahoteli pengine na bahari, lakini kwa wale wanahistoria ama watalii wengine ambao hutaka kuona asilia ya jamii, basi hivi vigango vikirudi moja kwa moja vitaweza kudumisha utalii. Na sio tu wale wa kutoka nje, na imani hata wa ndani kwa ndani wangetaka kuona na kuweza kujua ni kwa nini vinatumika na vina historia gani. Ukiangalia huu mswada, ningetaka kuongezea sauti kwamba kwa sababu hawa wazungu walivyoweza kuchukua hizi rasilimali zetu za kiasili na kuzipeleka kule kwao, wameweza kunufaika pakubwa, kwani kama wenzangu walivyozungumza, kuna wageni tu ambao huenda kuona karibu takriban 100 wameweza kupata hela nyingi kupitia vitu kama vigango na rasilimali zingine. Kwa hivyo mbali tu na huu mswada unaosema kwamba tusimamishe na tuweze kuregeshewa, ilikuwa pia usonge zaidi na kuona ni vipi pia zile pesa ambazo wameweza kukusanya miaka hii yote, na wao kule wanachaji na sarafu ya juu sana, sio kama shilingi ya Kenya, pia tutaweza kupata asilimia gani? Kwani ni wazi walikuwa wanafanya biashara haramu wakitengeneza hela na mali ambayo si yao, na kisheria sio.
In our nation, let's say to swear in the president, many people in all corners of world will start saying that Kenya has started practicing witchcraft in swearing in of their leader. Therefore, Madam Speaker, our culture is extremely important. And it is high time we ensure our children and our grandchildren will be able to recognize and appreciate the importance of our cultural diversity. We are product of our culture. We have different cultural different cultural perspectives and traditions in this country. And if they are brought together, the bread is extremely beautiful item. And ratification of this motion for us to approve the ratification of UNESCO, this will go a long way in ensuring we deepen our cultural diversity, and we ensure we use the cultural diversity to have a civilization which our nation can boast of. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I support this motion with those few remarks, saying that it is time to be proud of who we are through our cultural diversity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Nyamai.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Pia mimi niweze kuunga mkono ripoti ambayo imeandikwa na kamati ya michezo na utamaduni. Nataka kwanza kusema ya kwamba sisi kama Wanakenya tuko na nchi nzuri sana na tuko na lugha nzuri ya Kiswahili ambayo tunafaa kujivunia na kuipenda, Mheshimiwa Spika. Nimeangalia ripoti hii kwa makini na nimeona ya kwamba wabunge ambao wako kwa kamati hii pia wameangalia vile ambavyo nchi zile zingine zimeangalia utamaduni wao na kuweza kuchunga watu wao wasipoteze vitu ambavyo ni vyao vya kiasilia. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ninapo unga mkono, nataka kusema ya kwamba sisi kama Wakenya, hasa Wamasai, wako na nguo nzuri sana ambayo ni ile shuka ya Kimasai. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeangalia katika mtandao na nimeona ya Mheshimiwa Spika, tunajua ya kwamba kuna watalii ambao wanaweza kubeba vitu katika mifuko yao bila kujulikana, wanaweza kubeba ngozi ya wanyama wetu, na imefanyika Mheshimiwa Spika. Juzi tumeona katika airport mtu ambaye alikuwa amebeba vifaa tofauti. Tunapoenzi polisi wetu kwa kushika vitu kama hivyo, tunasema ya kwamba ni vizuri tujivunie hawa wanyama wetu ambao wanatuletea watalii wengi, tujivunie mavazi yetu, tujivunie nyimbo zetu ambazo tunaziimba vizuri sana, na tujivunie pia sisi wenyewe na lugha yetu ya Kiswahili ambayo hatujaimudu kabisa, lakini tulisomeshwa, na kwa sababu tulisomeshwa tutatia bidii kuizungumza kwa ifasavyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninapomalizia nataka kuchukua muda huu pia ni mwenzi rafiki yangu Mheshimiwa KJ. Mheshimiwa KJ alianza mambo ya utamaduni akiwa kijana mdogo sana. Alikuwa mdogo wangu hata huko katika shule. Lakini ile utamaduni ambayo aliuanzisha katika mchezo ambayo ulikuwa unaitwa ridiculous, akatengeneza pesa nyingi mpaka akawa si mwanafunzi tena, akawa ni kama lecturer ama mwalimu. Nataka kumwenzi na niseme pia huo ulikuwa ni utamaduni ambao umeendelezwa na vijana wetu saa hii ambao wameusukuma mbele ukakuwa ni industry fani nzima katika biashara. Kwa hivyo asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Haya, tunashukuru sana. Muda wetu umeyoyoma kwa hoja hii ama mswada huu. Kwa hivyo tutaweza kumwalika Mheshimiwa Daniel Wanyama ambaye ndo mwenye hoja hii. Uko na dakika za kujibu, lakini unaweza ukatoa chache kwa wale ambao wamebaki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think I'll be gracious enough and generous to give some 2 minutes to Susan Duyo, Tharaka Nithi, then another 2 minutes to my namesake, Daniel MP for Igembe, and finally another 2 minutes to my native, the MP for Nambale. Then I'll reply.
Thank you, Chair. Member for Tharaka Nithi, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to support this motion on ratification of the UNESCO 1970 Convention. Madam Speaker, I would start by saying that the European came to this country holding a Bible in one hand and a gun on the other hand, just to confuse us to embrace their culture and their beliefs. Madam Speaker, somehow I believe, even without these colonizers, we would have somehow developed. We would have somehow been civilized. We would have used our indigenous knowledge to develop ourselves. Madam Speaker, see how we hand our own medicine, we hand our own ornaments, we hand everything. In fact, Kenya and Africa was self-contained. So I believe that we should not, and I would also want to support that even as honorable members, as we fly and travel out of this country, we embrace our culture. We can start a routine or a culture of being in our clothes, the African clothes, the African ornaments. As we travel out of this country, I see most of us going around looking for Turkish dresses, looking for American dresses and suits. Why can't we be dressed in our African suits even as we move out of this country? Madam Speaker, I also want to say that even as we name our children, we go back to naming them using our names that we know their meaning. We should also go back to using our songs and our dances to teach our children on how they should grow up as Africans. Madam Speaker, I'm happy that as the Tharaka Nithi County, we've re-embraced our culture. We've invented a day that is called Huranget Cultural Festival in every second week of August, where we do our dances and songs and other things that we are used to in the Tharaka Nithi. I'm also happy that the Ameru and the Tharaka People Council of Elders have organized and have indicated in their calendar that on 13th January of next year, they'll be holding a very important event where they will be there to trace our steps and see where we went wrong. So, Madam.
The next person was Honorable Karido. Proceed, Honorable Karido.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii na mimi nichangie katika mswada huu ambao umeletwa na kamati ya michezo na utamaduni. Madam Speaker, Mswahili anakuambia mwacha mila ni mtumwa. Na sisi tukiacha mila zetu, tukubali kutembelea mila zile tulioletewa tukajaziliwa, tukiondolewa za kwetu, tutakuwa watumwa katika njia moja au nyingine. Madam Speaker, sisi kama Waafrika na sana haswa wa Kenya, tumekuwa na mila zetu, na sisi haswa wa Meru tumekuwa na mila zetu za ukaribu sana na kuwa na uhusiano wa karibu, na zile mila katika zile tumelelewa nazo ni zile za kujiheshimu na kuheshimu wazee, na kuacha mila kama hizo ni kupotea njia. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika utamaduni wetu haswa sisi wa Meru, na ningependa sana, kwa mfano, sisi katika maisha yetu ya ndoa ya kuoa, Mumeru kwetu angeweza kukubaliwa katika hali ya kuomba ndoa kama haya leta miraa ya Kimeru, na ilifungwa. Kuna pahali kwingine duniani hairuhusiwi. Kwa hivyo ningependa kama tamaduni zetu zingekuwa zinafuatwa na kulindwa na kutunzwa, pale ningeona kijana yangu ameenda kuoa Uarabuni na mimi napeleka kilo ya miraa huko, ingekuwa utamaduni wetu kweli unaaminika. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, tamaduni zetu tuzienzi, na vile vile lugha ya Kiswahili tuendelee kuienzi. Na kama ilivyo lugha ambayo inakuwa, nataka kusema hata chondo kinatumika katika lugha ya Kiswahili kwa sababu ni lugha inaendelea kukua na inakubalika. Asante sana.
Asante. Twende kwa yule mwingine. Mjumbe wa Nambale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, my good friend, Honorable Dano Wanyama, MP Webuye West. Madam Speaker, allow me to also make a contribution to this noble motion on the UNESCO 1970 Convention on Prevention of the Illicit Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Properties. Madam Speaker, we know that culture connects us to the past, and culture is everything to us. The only way we can put ourselves into the international arena to protect cultural artifacts is to sign this treaty so that it can have anchoring in Article 2, Sub-Article 6 of our Constitution. So that when you lay claim on anything that we know that it originates from our Kenyan natives, we can claim it wherever it is and bring it back. Madam Speaker, we note that when you go to the UK, you find that the kingship, before the coronation ceremony, taught us a lot. They went back to the traditional roots on how they used to perform the coronation of a king. And they followed it to the latter. But here in Africa, you find that instead of copying what is ours, we run away from our culture, copy what we have seen on international stage, and then try to adapt it as our own. So I believe that this particular motion is very important. Let's ratify this convention so that we can connect with our past. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank the honorable members for their contribution, immense and valuable contribution to support this motion. And I want to confirm that the various issues that they have raised, we have noted them, and the committee will make it very clear to the ministry to effectively take the steps to implement and legislate the objects of the convention that is very dear to Kenyans. I finally, Honorable Speaker, do thank this House for giving us an opportunity, and therefore I beg that this House adopt this convention on the ratification of this motion that we have just been debated on. And therefore, I beg to reply, but also add, Honorable Speaker, and a request that pursuant to Standing Order 53-3, kindly you can defer to put the question for another day. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. The request is hereby assented to. Honorable members, will now resume debate. Next order. That will be the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2022.
Order number 10, the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2022, second reading, resumption of debate.
So, honorable members, this is resumption of debate. Only 4 members had contributed to this bill. And I would like, in the absence of the person who was on his feet, I would like to call upon the Honorable Kiari.
Madam Speaker, it's a great honor to have the pole position to put my voice in support of this amendment effort by the Honorable Rahim Dawood, member for Imenti Central. And Madam Speaker, the excitement here is informed by the fact that, to my mind, any effort that would lead us toward alleviating the pain caused by cancer in this country is very much supported. Madam Speaker, cancer has become a calamity in this country. Not only is it a painful, experience for the patient, it is also extremely painful for the caregivers, the families, and all those affected by this extremely dangerous killer, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the effort by Honorable Rahim is seeking to amend the Principal Act by inserting new definitions, Mr. Speaker. It is seeking to insert a definition on e-health and goes ahead to describe e-health as the combined use of electronic communication and information technology in the health center. Madam Speaker, it also seeks to define telemedicine, the provision of healthcare services and sharing of medical knowledge over distance using telecommunication, and includes consultative, diagnostic, and treatment services. Madam Speaker, there is also an effort for us to amend this Principal Act by enacting regulations to the bill that contains the rules that will govern the use of e-health and telemedicine platforms in Kenya, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I said, cancer is proving to be a calamity. Not only is it painful, we know, Madam Speaker, that whenever there is a cancer case in any family, that family could be one ailment, one treatment, one chemotherapy, chemotherapy treatment away from poverty. Because this disease has become extremely expensive to control, to manage, and to treat, when possible to treat it, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, if we could take advantage of the progress in technology today to be able to alleviate some of the pain that is faced by patients, their caregivers, their guardians, and their family, that effort is very much welcome. Madam Speaker, your alma mater, the Kenyatta University, has since instituted a hospital, Madam Speaker. The very impressive Kenyatta University referral and hospital, Madam Speaker. If you go to KU Hospital, you will find a very advanced technology in the name of a cyber knife. Madam Speaker, this cyber knife is able to attend to cancer growths without any penetration under the skin. It is an undisruptive way to attend to tumors and malignant growths in cancer patients without having to tear under the skin. Such technology, Madam Speaker, has to be recognized as a great effort towards healing cancer where possible, Madam Speaker. But the bigger effort with this amendment, Madam Speaker, is to be able to take advantage of technology so that diagnosis, management, treatment of cancer can even be done remotely using the technology that is available today. Madam Speaker, a patient with such amendments shall not be required to physically move to where the oncologist is based for them to get care, for them to get treatment, so that a patient in a place far out, maybe in Tunyai or Siakariga or Mitongo in Tharaka Nithi, is able to get specialized attention from a very accomplished oncologist. And for this case, let me use the example of Dr. Kiarie, who is a famous oncologist in this country. This patient will be able to get such care without having to travel to the Nairobi hospital, without having to travel to Nairobi. This patient is able to receive such professional care in the comfort and the confines of their place of origin, whether it be Tunyai or Mitungu or Siakariga in Tharaka, Madam Speaker. So the effort to amend by the Honorable Rahim is extremely welcome to my mind. Madam Speaker, there shall be need for us to be able to dispatch medicine using technology. For example, if drones come to use and they become a mainstream tool for use in delivery of healthcare products and inputs and medicine, Madam Speaker, then we might need to revise the Principal Act for it to attend to such development in technology. Madam Speaker, there are so many Kenyans who are now relying on their devices, their mobile devices, to be able to get knowledge, Madam Speaker, to be able to get information, to be able to study further on some of the issues that are affecting them. No less, Madam Speaker, cancer patients. Cancer treatment requires so much information. Information that a patient might not be able to get in a normal visit, a consultation visit with a doctor, knowing how few oncologists in this country we have, Madam Speaker. So much so that one oncologist is attending to hundreds, if not thousands of patients at any given time. So the face time between a doctor and a patient is limited to the time that is available to this doctor to see the patient. Madam Speaker, with available new devices, with the availability of connectivity, with the great effort that we are trying to put as a country by introducing the digital superhighway, Madam Speaker, the digital superhighway, which is even calling on members of parliament here to be able to install digital innovation hubs in their constituencies. These become points of reference, points of information where each and every single patient is able to, from the comfort of their house using a device, or even by visiting such a connected center, Madam Speaker, to get information that is critical in the treatment of these very dangerous ailment known as cancer. Madam Speaker, technology is always advancing. And so our laws also need to keep up with the times. Madam Speaker, the Principal Act, as it was being authored, might not have taken to cognizance the advancements that are happening in the fourth industrial revolution. So the effort by Honorable Rahim to bring in technology, in the use of technology in attending to patients and situations of cancer is very much welcome. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Rahim does speak to the use of technology in healthcare. And even as we speak today, Madam Speaker, as you go around, you will find that there are very many e-health providers in this country, electronic health providers, Madam Speaker. You know of corporate entities, private entities, such as MyDawa, who are trying to put e-health as a commonplace in attending to ailments, Madam Speaker. Health Kenya, we have Health in it, we have Med Africa, Access Africa, Nyumbani Medics, Medbit Kenya, Self Health, Madam Speaker. And all these are just examples of efforts that are out there to be able to keep up with technology in better provision of healthcare, even beyond cancer treatments, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I do support vehemently the effort by the Honorable Rahim Dawood to be able to bring e-health and telemedicine onto the platform as a way of attending to a calamity called cancer. Madam Speaker, I will take these last minutes to thank colleague honorable members who stepped out of their way to be able to assist me at a time when a family member was battling with cancer, Madam Speaker. Early this year, my father was diagnosed with a very aggressive case of colon cancer, Madam Speaker. And honorable members here, Madam Speaker, were magnanimous enough to stand with our family, not only with the emotional support, the moral support, but even the financial support.
Give him a minute to complete that statement. 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, I really appreciate. I will not take more than a minute. I was ending to say, Madam Speaker, as a family, we were able to learn firsthand how difficult it is to attend to a case of cancer, that it does not matter how well off you think you are as a family. One cancer case in the family is enough to drive any family into poverty. And so any effort, Madam Speaker, that would be able to alleviate this tragedy of cancer is very welcome. And I thank Honorable Rahim Dawood for this effort, and I ask members to support him in his effort to amend the Mother Act towards e-health and telemedicine. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Joshua Mwalio, member for Masinga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Although I was reading the bill, I will try to see what I can put across, because this is...
Honorable Mwalio, the only reason I called your name is because you are first on the screen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Speaker, no problem.
So would you like to proceed?
I am...
Would you like to proceed?
Yes, I will proceed.
Okay.
Yes. I want to support this bill by Mheshimiwa Dahu, who has been able to bring a very important bill in this house. You know, there is a scarcity of doctors who normally attend to the cancer patients. And as you know, even Kenya has got a scarcity of doctors. The statistics have shown that one doctor is able to attend to 26,000 patients, which is a lot and overwhelming number of patients. And because many have not been able to go to study the study of cancer, that is why we have very few of them. And therefore, the e-health system, which is being introduced, will be able to attend to as many patients as possible. You can see that even the doctors can be able to subscribe through the e-system to a person that is very far, even in America, even in Australia, while he's seated in the comfort of his house in this country. So this motion should be given all the attention that it deserves, because it is a very important one. The government is now doing what we are calling the national ICD infrastructure. And this is the way that we are able to use
this infrastructure in our country, whereby a person in Masinga will be able to be treated by a person sitting in Kenyatta, by a doctor sitting in Kenyatta National Hospital, while that person is in the comfort of his bed in Masinga Keva ward. So this is a very noble idea, which I really support because it is going to be a game changer. The same way we use M-Pesa. When you are in America and you have money in your phone, you are able to send money and save somebody in your village while you are still in America, or while the person is in America is able to send money in this country. And if that can be done in the patients that are suffering from cancer, which has been declared by this country as a national disaster, that will save a lot of lives. It is very devastating and very expensive to treat a cancer patient in this age. And it costs a lot of money. You find that the family is selling whatever is available to be able to attend to the person that is sick by paying all the bills that are being incurred in the hospitals. But when it is going to be the e-health system, then it might be even costing less than what is being costing physically. So I really support this idea, and I think this is the way to go, so that the delivery can be, the service delivery can be enhanced, and also be a quick way of saving the lives of our Kenyans and the lives of the people that are suffering from cancer, so that we can be able to get along together with them. With these few remarks, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Susan Duyo, member for the Rakanithi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also rise to support this amendment. Madam Speaker, cancer is the third killer among all the diseases in the world. Madam Speaker, we've seen patients who have really suffered because of accessing medication and treatment on cancer issues. Madam Speaker, we need this bill so that we can have a very comprehensive legal framework to support the treatment of cancer. Having e-health and having telemedicine, Madam Speaker, will help patients remotely receive treatment even when in the remote areas and in the rural areas. Madam Speaker, telemedicine and e-health have supported patients having cancer to access medicine, ask their doctors questions, receive answers, and be able to access medicine whenever they need it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we've seen patients who have not been able to travel, especially also in the country, to access this medication, Madam Speaker. And thus, Madam Speaker, I support this bill so that people living with cancer, people having cancer can really access medication, and they can have a legal framework that is going to support them, whereby doctors are not going to abuse their ethical values. Thank you, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Kakai Bisau, member for Kiminini.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I take this opportunity to thank Honorable Dawood for bringing in this particular bill, which is very important. As we know, cancer continues to really devastate families, and based on the lifestyle and the feeds we have now, certainly cancer is on the growth. So this bill is very timely, especially to address the logistical component that the cancer patients have to go through. So certainly with e-health and e-medicine, that certainly is going to make a lot of changes. And given our challenges, even infrastructure-wise, and especially at the moment that we even have El Nino, moving one person, a cancer patient, to one point becomes really a challenge. So this is really timely. And in my view, Madam Speaker, if it could also be extended to the special groups, especially also persons living with disability, so that this can apply. And I know, Madam Speaker, that once the bill is gone through, that it also be expedited, like with the NHIF, to try also accommodate the entities that are providing these particular services, an example, LTEX and the rest, who are actually now in the market but cannot be accommodated through NHIF because the bill has not passed. So again, Madam Speaker, this is a really timely bill, and I thank Honorable Dawood for actually bringing this bill, which I know will make it easy for many of the families that have been having challenges, not just in terms of efficiency in prescribing the medicine, but also in reducing the burden and the pain that the families and the patients have been going through. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Daniel Carrido, member for Igembe Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I also stand to support this amendment, the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill by Rahim. And first and foremost, I take this opportunity to congratulate him for coming up with such a bill. Madam Speaker, cancer has become a problem to most of households. Madam Speaker, especially where I come from, Meru, we have had these problems, and it's a big challenge to the whole community, and it's a disease that can impoverish any community in this country. Madam Speaker, when we have this e-health, whereby technology will be used in treating and diagnosing this disease, it will save a lot of money from many families, especially on transportation costs and other spendings. Madam Speaker, when one travels from far corner of Ndambero coming to Nairobi for diagnosis and treatment, one has to spend more than 10,000 on transport and maybe night out and meals. But if one can move just a few, maybe to Mahua or even to Ndambero itself for diagnosis, it will reduce the cost of this treatment, and it will be effective. Madam Speaker, we will also request and support the idea of having mobile clinics to assist in areas where the communication is not very clear. And I can remember sometimes back in Meru, we had a governor who had those mobile clinics, mostly in diagnosing the cancer, and it was quite effective. Therefore, if the diagnosis is done effectively and the treatment is done through the modern technology, it will save our people a lot of cost, and then deaths will be reduced. And Madam Speaker, many households have gone down, and even families are broken up because of this cancer, because the costs end up, the family end up spending everything they have, and they have many problems, even school dropout of kids. Therefore, this one will reduce the cost of running these errands, and this bill is very essential and very important. I believe everyone has an opportunity, though it's not very encouraging, to interact with these people with these problems, especially we leaders. We have been invited in most cases, Arabis, to raise funds for the treatment of these problems. Madam Speaker, we know very many countries in the world who have been very, very successful in this endeavor, and especially a country like Denmark and Japan, they mostly use these e-health technologies. And if we embrace this technology, I believe our country will move forth. And for example, the M-Pesa case. Suppose one is traveling all the way from Kanjo to go to Maoa just to be given his money. He will spend all what he earned on transport. That case, same case will apply to the cancer treatments and diagnosis. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I stand to support, and I beg that we support all this bill so that this country can make a step ahead in matters, medication, and treatment. Thank you, and I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Eric Muchangi, member for Runyenje.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to add my voice to this very important bill sponsored by my friend, the Honorable Dawood. I would say Honorable Dawood has done a very good job, and he's a very active legislator. It is not the first time he's sponsoring bills. He was before my committee with another bill that we passed in this house, so the people of his constituency did not make a mistake. Honorable Speaker, the issue to do with cancer is a very big debate in this country because cancer has become a disaster. And if you walk in every village, Honorable Speaker, and like many of the members can agree with, is that most families have been robbed of their wealth by this cancer. And every day, every weekend, every Saturday and every Sunday, we have people converging together to raise finances for the treatment of people who are suffering from cancer. And it is one of the biggest, one of the diseases that has caused a lot of deaths in this country. So our government needs to do a lot pertaining this disease, and I'm in support of this bill so that we can make it easier for our people to access treatment, because they spend a lot of money coming all the way from the village to Nairobi to look for treatment, to go to Kenyatta, to Kenyatta National Hospital, to Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, and other hospitals around Nairobi to seek for treatment. So if there is an integration of technology in the search for the treatment to this disease, then this would be very good, because now it would save the costs for these people who are already suffering. Because, Honorable Speaker, you will agree with me that among the diseases that deplete resources quite fast, cancer is top among them. So there is need to integrate technology so that we can ensure that our people get the treatment right from the village. Nowadays, most of the things are being done through technology. And it is just the other day that, Honorable Speaker, we passed the digital health bill. So the same way, people who are from the rural areas should get an opportunity to get the treatment that they so deserve by the use of the same technology. Honorable Speaker, we also have the Cancer Institute, and I would say it does, among the things that it does is the education of our people about cancer. And it is now the high time that the Cancer Institute now start training oncologists, because this country doesn't have enough oncologists who are supposed to handle these cancer illnesses. So if this Cancer Institute can be well equipped, if we can build the capacity of the Cancer Institute, then we can have more people or more doctors who are trained oncologists to come and help out in the treatment of the same. So, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much, and I support.
The Honorable Maungu. The Honorable Dick Maungu, member for Luanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support and celebrate my good brother for having come up with a creative amendment that will see as add value to the treatment and management of cancer in this country. As you are aware, cancer has become a great burden, indeed a great strain to many of our families, Madam Speaker, and more so those of us who come from the rural areas. Management of cancer is a great burden to our societies. And therefore, the introduction of proposed amendments of e-health or telemedicine will ensure that management of cancer is more enhanced, because our rural folk will be able to enjoy the issue of technology in trying to diagnose, managing, and even prescribing the right prescriptions in this cancer, Madam Speaker. We realize that cancer has caused a lot of burden to our people, be it financial, emotional, sometimes even domestic, where families end up breaking because of the financial drain that our families have gone through. Therefore, the idea of having e-health, whereby we can make use of a pool of doctors, specialists in the area of oncology, will be a great value, especially to those who cannot be able to afford or even access these great referral centers that we have, for example, in Nairobi. A place in Luanda, Madam Speaker, is one such place that we have a number of people who bear this burden, a number of people who go through the challenges of navigating the pains and the sorrow that comes with cancer. And therefore, I believe that this amendment goes in the right direction because a person in the rural setup in Luanda will be able to use e-health or telemedicine to have his case well diagnosed, to have his case well prescribed, and be able to mitigate the effects or the damage that comes with this cancer. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to applaud this and ask that we continue to, I want to applaud the initiative given by my brother here and pray that this will give us a new frontier in how we shall be able to manage and more so early diagnosis of cancer, because more often than not, we discover that our people discover cancer when they are far much advanced, stage 4, when it is almost done with them, Madam Speaker. But having early diagnosis, having a case whereby these people can have their cases well diagnosed when cancer is still in early stages, I believe that will give us an opportunity to manage and, if possible, be able to overcome this great burden in our societies, and therefore rise to support. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Jackson Lekumbontare, member for Samburu East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to support this bill. Madam Speaker, cancer patients have a lot of challenge even to access the information. And when the cancer struck a family, it really exhausts the resources they have. And the information, Madam Speaker, is very important for these patients, and they really need to be assisted. And if this technology, Madam Speaker, can relieve them to get the information, to be diagnosed where they are, this is a very good bill, Madam Speaker. The bill tries to secure the care of these people where they are. They can get information. And Madam Speaker, cancer is really a tough disease in Kenya, and I think in the whole world. And Madam Speaker, this is a very good bill that seeks to diagnose these patients where they are in the rural setup. If they can get the information, this is the way we should be going as a country. And I think, Madam Speaker, this bill has a lot of very good and relief to the patients, because these patients used to visit the hospital for very many times until they exhaust the resources they have. And the technology, Madam Speaker, has proved to be very important and helpful where maybe these people are away from the services and these hospitals. If you look at the remote areas, very many cancer patients are suffering because they lack information. And I think, Madam Speaker, it has now come a time whereby we need to get the right information for the right and the earlier treatment to these patients. And this is a very good bill, Madam Speaker. I would like to support it, and we really need to support for the sake of the people we represent because of the challenges they have. And Madam Speaker, information is power, as people say, and even the communities need to understand even this disease called cancer. Because in some areas, Madam Speaker, people fear even somebody when he's diagnosed and he has cancer, the community still have a lot of fear concerning this. And Madam Speaker, the environment really needs to be supported so that these patients can get information and get treatment away from the hospitals. If there is a way that they can get the medicine without incurring a lot of cost when traveling to see even the doctors, then it is a good bill. And I thank you, Madam Speaker. I really support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Jane Kagiri, member for Laikipia County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this amendment bill. Madam Speaker, this bill, I would first want to thank Honorable Rahim for bringing it because it's timely and it's going to support very many families. For me, Honorable Speaker, this bill, amendment bill, takes me back 9 months ago when my father was unwell and suffering from cancer. Madam Speaker, for us to allow e-health and telemedicine, I can speak for myself and for very many families to confirm that it's going to help them in cost saving. Number one, Madam Speaker, we find that cancer in this country has very few oncologists who are able to treat it. Madam Speaker, many families have to move their loved ones from one hospital to another, looking for the specialist doctor who can be able to assist them. Madam Speaker, this will help us save on that. Secondly, Madam Speaker, there's a lot of waiting time and travel time when people have to be treated. Madam Speaker, with telemedicine and the e-health, we are going to be able to have our people treated in the confines of their homes or wherever they are. Number three, Madam Speaker, it's also going to be cost effective for families. Because number one, Madam Speaker, we don't have to pay the cost of hospital beds, we don't have to pay the cost of treatments in hospital. Madam Speaker, that will go a long way in assisting needy families who are not able to meet these expenses. Fourthly, Madam Speaker, the patient will be able to engage with the doctors. I'm sure it is an experience I've gone through and an experience many of us have gone through, that many a times when you meet doctors in Kenya in person, they're always in a hurry to talk to the next person. Madam Speaker, I believe through telemedicine, we are going to have doctors who would be ready to engage, and these would be specialists from anywhere around the world. So, Madam Speaker, we would get recommendations from the very best who will be able to engage and assist our people. Madam Speaker, there are many times, and I would give a good example of my own father. We moved him from one hospital to another hospital, and unfortunately, he picked an infection from the hospital we moved him to. Honorable Speaker, in such a situation where we have e-health and telemedicine, we will be protecting our loved ones from infections that could be contagious and that could affect them further. Honorable Speaker, I support this amendment bill, and as I conclude, I would want to thank each and every honorable member who stood with me and my family during that very difficult period, and will remain forever grateful for that. I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, member from Mbeere North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to first congratulate Honorable Rahim for this very timely amendment, and this should be supported not only by this House, but also by the implementing agency, especially bearing in mind that, Madam Speaker, we passed several bills which are touching the health of the nation.
to ensure the health of the nation is properly conducted, well-aligned, and every Kenyan from every corner of Kenya is taken care of by the government. Madam Speaker, cancer and many other diseases like diabetes has ensured many families in the Republic they have suffered in terms of depleting all the savings and as well as investments, to the extent that many families turn to raise funds through friends, relatives, and of course, many of the leaders within their areas. For this to be taken care of, Madam Speaker, what Honorable Rahim is proposing is to ensure e-health or telemedicine is well entrenched within the Republic. It is important for health institutions or hospitals to be able to speak to each other, to be able to access files of patients, whether you are in level 4 hospital or level 5 hospital, that your medical records are able to be accessed by a doctor who is not necessarily within the same vicinity or for the same building, so that this can be, so that we can be able to fast track the process of treatment. If you go to many of the developed nations, Madam Speaker, you realize hospitals are not as many, but doctors are many. And these doctors are able to treat patients from every corner of the country. I will give you an example of Germany, where hospitals are not as many. Yes, they are there, but doctors are quite many. Madam Speaker, training of oncologists is an extremely important aspect. We have a deficiency, or we have shortage of trained, qualified oncologists in the Republic. Many years, not very many years ago, Madam Speaker, I was working with the government of Israel. And I remember the government of Israel, or many doctors, several doctors, not as many, going for training on oncology in a hospital called Hadassah in Israel. The shortage, if you go to Kenyatta at the moment, you'll find lines which if you go at 4 a.m., you'll be late, or you'll be able to see the doctor or to get the treatment very late, or even if it is not possible that day. So, Madam Speaker, it's very important that this bill or this amendment is able to align the treatment of some of the diseases we have, and in this case, cancer, which has made this country spend a lot of money, which has also created medical tourism. Many patients have gone to other countries for treatment, like in India. You will find many Kenyans every single day traveling to India for treatment, when we can be able to align things properly in our country and treat those patients here, and not only for this nation, but also within the region. So, Madam Speaker, I again want to congratulate Honorable Rahim for this timely amendment, and this need to be supported by this House, by the ministry, by the government, and also the development partners, to ensure we take care of our people. And there is nothing that any Kenyan can do to say you can't have cancer. Not eating well, not running every morning, you just get organized, and there you go. You start the treatment process, which is expensive, which is painful, and in most cases, which is normally not successful. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. The Honorable Mary Maingi, member for Mwea.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this amendment. I would like to start by thanking the Honorable Member, Honorable Dawood, for bringing this amendment to the floor of this House, because it was long overdue. Madam Speaker, cancer affects all of us, or has affected all of us, either directly or indirectly. Most Kenyans cannot afford to go or to seek an appointment or to seek treatment from an oncologist. Reason being, the oncologists that we have in Kenya are very few. Madam Speaker, they are also very far in between, and getting to see one is a very expensive affair for our Kenyan patients. The use of telemedicine and e-health is therefore going to reduce the cost of medical attention through exploitation of smart features to help medical practitioners improve their care delivery. It's also going to save our Kenyan patients from huge transport costs to only seek the treatment of an oncologist. Madam Speaker, all of us, in a way or another, and I'll give my own example where I lost my dad to cancer. We are told that 50% of cancer treatment is on information. Training of health cadres in the specialized area of oncology to include cancer treatment as part of provision of primary health care is going to be very helpful and very useful, as we are going to have our community health promoters now talk about cancer and also give advice on cancer treatment or lifestyle to ensure that cancer is prevented. With those very few remarks, Madam Speaker, I seek to support this amendment as I congratulate the mover. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Mary Amase, member for Teso South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this bill. This is a very important bill. It's timely. And I also want to just commend Honorable Rahim for bringing it up. Madam Speaker, cancer is the third largest killer, second to infectious and cardiovascular diseases. It is the third in Kenya and the second in the world. And we are losing so many people to cancer today. When you speak to everyone around you, even to colleagues here, as I've already heard, most of them have alluded to, each one of us has lost somebody to cancer, a close member of the family. I lost my mother to cancer, leukemia. I lost my father to cancer, prostate. So it is very important that patients diagnosed with cancer have access to treatment and early diagnosis, have access to information, awareness, sensitization. Because delayed access to treatment immediately after diagnosis is what increases the risks and leads to increased mortality rate. Madam Speaker, the mortality rate is at 40,000 patients per year. And this is because the situation is worsened by delayed access to health care. Therefore, I want to say the bill proposes to introduce e-health, whereby we can be able to leverage on technology for patients to be able to access treatment and attention. We are aware that we have very few doctors, oncologists in the country. Most of our people who are diagnosed with cancer in our villages, in the rural areas, are given referrals, like in Busia, where I come from. Most of the cancer patients are referred to either MTRH Eldoret or to Kenyatta National Hospital. So that means this patient has got to be transported. In some cases, they cannot even be able to sit in a normal public means. So the family have got to look for private means. They have to be accompanied. And the diagnosis also takes some time because the doctors are fewer, so they have to be booked. So in the process, they have to look for accommodation. They have got to take care of themselves, upkeep, and it becomes very expensive. But with the technology, the e-health, I think the patients will have the best experience because they can be able to interact, speak to the doctors wherever they are, in whichever geographical location they are, and they'll be able to get help, timely help, and that would be very important. Telemedicine, the introduction of telemedicine whereby if you are diagnosed in hospital A, you've been referred to hospital B, then this hospital B is able to access your history, your data, the tests that have been done in hospital A. So it therefore makes the treatment faster, very easy, and therefore we can be able to save lives because that will provide timely attention, treatment, and screening. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to say, this therefore even calls for coordination between the Ministry of Health and the Cancer Institute of Kenya to be able to have a collaboration whereby we train more of our young people, more of our people, even the doctors who are already undertaking treatment in the sector of oncology, to get further training so that we have enough doctors to be able to address issues of cancer in a timely manner. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that.
The Honorable Gishimu, member for Geshogo. Please try to trace him. He came very early, but he doesn't have a card today.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this bill sponsored by Honorable Rahim Dawood, popularly known as Momero Motune, within his jurisdiction, where he represents the people of Meru Central. Madam Speaker, it's very, very important to entrench e-health in the Cancer Prevention and Control Act, as has been proposed in this bill by Honorable Rahim Dawood, because this will go a long way in saving the costs of treatment of this disease, which has become a menace to this country, which, according to research, is rated as the third in cause of death in this country. Madam Speaker, I normally feel for patients of cancer, and especially I'm talking out of the experience that I've seen in my constituency, Gishogo, whereby I've seen patients move from very deep areas of the constituency all the way to Nairobi, to other destinations to seek treatment for cancer. And if this e-health is entrenched in the law, it will ease the burden of that movement, the cost of paying hospital accommodation and those kind of costs, so that they can be able to access this service at the comfort of their homes, including telemedicine. In fact, it's only that it has not been entrenched in the law. There are some companies that are already practicing this kind of e-health and telemedicine services. But now, once it is already entrenched in the law, of course, they will also follow regulations on how it should be done in accordance to the law, to avoid also exploitation and for the smooth provision of these services to the deserving patients. Madam Speaker,
The other amendment that is being sought is also that this institute, the Cancer Institute of Kenya, to collaborate with the national government, Department responsible for health, to promote the training of human resource for oncology services. This is very, very important. And I'm sure this will also get a boost from the already launched the health promoters who are now going to the villages, and they are able to discover these kind of diseases early enough, because prevention is better than cure. And we thank the government of Kenya Kwanza, led by His Excellency the President, for seeing it fit to put priority on primary health through the universal health coverage by starting off this program of the health promoters at the village levels. Madam Speaker, I do not want to belabor so much, because I can see my colleagues also have interest in this matter, and we are just about to break for lunch. So I just stop at that point and say that I really support, and I hope it goes to all the other levels and passes as law. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that opportunity.
The Honorable Julius Olesunkuli, member for Kilgoris.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving this opportunity to contribute to this very useful bill. And I want to thank my friend from Meru for having brought this bill. No doubt, cancer has become a big problem in Kenya. And there must be a reason why we have this proliferation of cancer. But recently, Madam Speaker, there seems to be a lot of hope to the people who suffer from cancer, in that it is no longer necessarily a death sentence once you suffer cancer. The whole issue is early diagnosis and visiting the oncologists and the treatment early enough. I've witnessed some people who have made a comeback from cancer because they have been diagnosed early and that they have been treated appropriately. Madam Speaker, anything that will be done in the way of making cancer less and less of a deadly disease is going to be helpful. And this bill tends to address two areas mainly. One is the establishment of telemedicine in the area of oncology, and the other one is the Institute of Oncology. This area of telemedicine is a novel area, but it is a very practical one. I know that many places are already doing it, like My Dawa, My Health, or rather M Health. And I recently visited Gertrude Children's Hospital here in Nairobi, and they already are marketing the establishment of telemedicine in the area for children. MP Shah is also doing this on their part. And Aga Khan has not been left behind. So we already have this practice of telemedicine. And this will help, Madam Speaker, in many ways. First, having witnessed the treatment of cancer patients in our facilities, particularly Kenyatta National Hospital and Moi Referral, it is clear to see that one of the biggest problems we have are the queues, the number of people waiting for treatment. This telemedicine will address the issue of queuing for doctors. The people who will be, anyone who can now access, if we make it law, a doctor who is not necessarily geographically located in the same area as yourself. And you can make the world smaller by getting a doctor from any part of the world to attend to you. This will decongest our hospitals in a big way, because then doctors who are also doing their rounds can have their patients later on at their free time, and it's going to be to have a lot of impact in our management of our patients. Secondly, this is going to help in the sharing of information. This is a world that is full of information sharing, and information, as many have said, is power. And we're going to share information on the prevalence of cancer in certain areas, on the nature of the cancer, on the behavior of cancer towards treatment. This telemedicine is going to be very, very useful. The second arm of it is that we're going to, as far as the institute is concerned, I've always been concerned myself, Madam Speaker, that part of our problem as Kenya is that we have not put a lot of money into research. I think in the end, we have to make ourselves understand what is cancer actually, and why is it now growing so quickly in Kenya. And people might say we attribute it to food, but do we have the evidence? We attribute it to lifestyle, do we have the evidence? I think we now need the evidence. The evidence must be through research, the evidence must be empirical, and we must be able to say that those are the reasons why we have cancer. The moment this cancer is demystified, the moment we know the name of the thing that is causing our cancer, this would be a long way towards its emancipation in the end. Madam Speaker, a lot can be said about this bill, but I think as we go ahead, more and more attention will be paid to cancer. More members will bring bills on other aspects relating to cancer. Already, we have a way in which we will deal with it as far as insurance is concerned, because the new insurance bill, acts that we pass, will classify cancer as a chronic disease, and that the patients who will be suffering under these chronic diseases will be catered for under the Insurance Act, under the insurance provisions of the Social Health Insurance Fund. Madam Speaker, with those remarks, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Anthony Wainaina, member for Kieni.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. And I would want to contribute as follows on the matters before us. First and foremost is that we are trying to align the cancer management in this country to the international arena. Madam Speaker, telemedicine, teletreatment is it's an emerging technology that is not only affecting cancer, but also assisting other areas of treatment in other areas. I would want to imagine that the mover of this motion want to really support that a doctor in India, a doctor in Britain, Spain, Italy, or any other part of this world will be able to connect with a doctor in Kenya, and they make a collabo, and in that collabo, one can be able to treat, diagnose, treat, and manage a cancer from a very far distance. And of course, this will bring down the costs. Madam Speaker, in 2016, I went to India, and in the flight that I was, a third of the passengers were on medical tourism to India. But the Indians have established establishments here in Kenya where they are treating some treatments, not only cancer, but other treatments like the spine clinic. And they have brought in the technology here. They are in India. They are treating their patients here. The Rwadis, the Burundians are coming to Kenya for this kind of treatment, and therefore easing the burden and the cost of treating these patients to far countries. Madam Speaker, the matter before us, whenever it has been mentioned in this Parliament about the cancer management treatment, it brings stigma to the members. The emotions land very high because every member here, either a family, a friend, a neighbor, a relative, or somebody who concerns you has a cancer treatment, has a cancer in the family. The disease is not only expensive to treat, but it also gives a lot of stigma to the patient. It drains the resources of the patient, if he ever had one. Large buildings, savings have been drained. The relatives sell their properties to support their cancer kin, and the disease is just becoming such a big menace in this country. Madam Speaker, I would wish that this House also encompasses, through the move of this motion, that recently this government, our government rather, established the health caregivers. This is where the primary treatment of the cancer should be anchored in, where those caregivers are trained on how to help in early detection of cancer, the symptoms and other things, so that we may arrest the cancer right before it comes to stage 2, stage 3, because when it comes to stage 4, it becomes a little bit worrying. Chances of survival becomes less, and it is at that level of the health caregivers where we would wish that the health caregivers are well trained to help the early detection of the cancer. On the Cancer Institute, I'm sure this is one area we could also talk to them, that they connect ourselves, our cancer treatment in this country, to the international arena by knowing the most current technology that is used in the cancer management. And therefore, to the move of this motion, it is a heads up, it's a thumbs up, it is on time, and it is really going to help this country. I want to support the debate.
The Honorable John Mutunga, member for Tigania West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the sponsor of this bill, of these amendments. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Dawood has brought in some very significant changes. There are not many, but they're extremely significant. And I want to point out, the first thing that Honorable Dawood is saying is that and I want to put them in this order. First of all, promote treatment of persons with cancer as a component of primary health care. And I want to look at the Kenya Kwanza plan and the Kenya Kwanza rollout of the digitization of the healthcare services, and also of the rollout of the primary healthcare service providers. Every part of this country is covered by primary healthcare providers. Cancer is easy to detect in the sense that it has to do with cysts or swelling or abscesses of some kind. So when these primary health care service providers visit a patient who is likely to be suffering from cancer, who will complain of probably having some swollen in certain parts of the body, they can basically recommend that this person is checked for cancer. Not all tumors, not all cysts are cancerous. Some are benign. Whatever is malignant is what is considered to be cancerous. The second thing that the Honorable Dawood is proposing is that we promote the use of e-health and the telemedicine for the prevention and management of the cancer. It is possible for that to be linked with the last one, where the institute, and I believe this is the Cancer Treatment Institute, will basically collaborate with the national government, departments responsible for health, to promote the training of human resources for oncology services. I'm trying to look at a situation where somebody has been diagnosed with some swelling. Then this person does not know whether the swelling is cancerous or not. And then we have people on the ground who are already trained to do the biopsy, to extract some liquid from some of those swellings and assess whether this liquid contains cells that are continuously multiplying without dying, because that is what cancer it is. Anyway, cancer is multiplication of cells without dying. Naturally cells multiply, but cells die. So we talk about those two. Now, when you look at those three, there is clear linkage between enhancing knowledge for diagnosis of cancer and the initial treatment of cancer, and also conveying of this information to the various centers where probably we can get help. If we can do this well at the national level, then it will be easy, as some of the members or my colleagues have stated, that it is also possible for us to even talk about now seeking for treatment from outside Kenya. So these amendments are significant and they are key. They will help in cost reduction in a variety of ways. First of all, the time cost, when you have to wait for a long time, long days, to be seen by a doctor. Secondly, the traveling cost. If you have to travel from the villages to Nairobi, probably to see a doctor, and then stay in Nairobi for maybe 2 or 3 days. On our speaker, I have had interactions with many cancer patients. I've also lost a sister to cancer. So we have real life experience. And you visit any family, they will tell you about their interactions with a patient who has either died of cancer and some probably who have also been able to survive. On our speaker, cancer is highly curable. If it is identified at the first or second stage, it is very easy to cure. And I wanted to stand here and say that I know of some colleagues of mine who were diagnosed with cancer more than 10 years ago. They were treated and they are still alive, and I thank God for that. So it is possible for us not to lose people because of cancer. If cancer is diagnosed early, if we have gotten this knowledge permeating to the rural areas, where people we can do basic diagnosis at that particular level. And then we are able to recommend for treatment from that level now to the specialized centers through the e-conveyancing of information and also telemedicine. Then it is possible for us to reduce cost, it is possible for us to reduce anxiety, it is possible for us to even advise and counsel people appropriately, because we know a situation where somebody for sure will live or survive through cancer. And we know a situation where we need to do more palliative care than basically looking at having the person surviving through. So these amendments are significant, and they are going to make a huge turnaround in the identification, diagnosis, and treatment of cancer. Honourable Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Rahab Mukami, member for Nyeri County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First, I want to congratulate Honorable Rahim for bringing this bill in this House. Honorable Speaker, personally, I'm a victim, and I know those people who have family members who have cancer, what they go through. I lost my sister 5 years ago, and it was not easy, especially for the poor family. It is very, very expensive to treat that disease. It is a monster in this country. Again, I want to support that it's good to have the telemedicine method, because that one is going to help a lot, especially because of the cost of treating that disease. And now when you are bringing people to Nairobi to come and queue in Kenyatta Hospital, you end up spending a lot of money instead of using that money doing chemotherapy. So I support telemedicine method. It is the best. We also need to train many oncologists, because we don't have many doctors who can treat cancer in this country. And that's why you see majority normally take their patient in India to go for treatment. In our hospitals, we don't have medical equipment. I also urge the government to try and see what they can do so that we can have medical facilities in a hospital for those people who can't reach in Nairobi or in other hospitals which can treat the cancer. Kenyans also need to try and change their eating habits, because I know cancer sometimes it's brought by our eating habits, so we need to start eating healthy. We also need to start doing organic farming. By doing all that, we'll be able to minimize this disaster, and we'll be able to live a better life. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support Honorable Rahim. Thank you.
The Honorable Deco, member for Garissa Town.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the amendment by our colleague Abdul Rahim Dawood. Madam Speaker, as many of the colleagues who spoke before me have said, This is a very serious issue. Cancer is a very bad disease, in that it is reported as the third largest killer in the country. It is so rampant again in the region I come from. I don't know why. So in this amendment bill by my colleague talked about two issues. One is telemedicine. As a country, I think we need to take advantage of the infrastructure we have in the IT industry and use this opportunity to equip our health facilities with these telemedicine equipments so that we take advantage of the global world that is more advanced than us in the treatment and management of cancer. Madam Speaker, I have had opportunity to travel to India for something else, but in that trip I went to see a doctor to carry out normal checks. And unfortunately, I met about 6 Kenyans accompanied by their families who are seeking treatment in that region. That means it's too costly for individuals to seek medical attention, because even in the country, I think it is we lack many experienced or trained personnel to administer and manage this disease. Madam Speaker, in the area of the Cancer Institute, I think we need to have more research done on this disease. We do not know what the causes, only speculation on that, what causes. The people lack information on what actually causes and at what time they should seek treatment. And from the experienced or trained personnel, Madam Speaker, many of the communities or those in the rural areas, some of them believe this is a curse, yet it's something that we understand that can be treated if sought in good time. Many people today, once they are diagnosed with this disease called cancer, they find it is a death sentence. They find all the trouble or the procedures they go through is just to prepare them for death. So I think what we need, and we support the amendment on the telemedicine amendment on it, that we should have and invest more on the IT sector and personnel. Even if we have this equipment and we have the network as a country and establish collaborations with other doctors in the world, yet we do not have enough trained personnel to manage this disease. Therefore, I say, and I stand here to support that, we need more investment on this sector, and I support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Paul Mwirigi, member for Igembe South.
Asante sana Bwana Speaker, Madam Speaker. Na hii iende kwa ripoti. Bunge hii, Madam Speaker, inaonekana ni kama kuna wabunge zaidi ya wengine. Sababu kuna wabunge ambao wanafika hapa mapema, wanaweka kandi zao, majina yanasoma katika mashini ya bunge wakiwa wametangulia, lakini hawapati nafasi. Na sijui ni kwa nini.
Out of order, Honorable Mwirigi.
Nadhani nilikuja hapa wakati ambapo mswada wa...
I am going to give you time to proceed with the motion. And I will not ask you to withdraw what you have said, but I would like to ask you to now proceed with the motion. You are out of order. You are out of order.
Na hiyo ingie kwa rekondi kwa njia hiyo. Na nataka nimpongeze Mheshimiwa Rahim. Sababu wakati ambapo mbunge anachaguliwa kufanya kazi, na wakati ambapo anakuja hapa anakuja kufanyia wananchi kazi pia. Nataka nimpongeze Mheshimiwa Rahim kwa huu mswada ambao ameleta katika bunge hii wa mambo ya afya ya teknolojia ya kisasa. Niseme dunia wakati huu vile ambavyo inasonga katika mwelekeo wa teknolojia ya kisasa, na kwa hivyo sheria hii imekuja wakati ambapo wakati unafaa. Na hii sheria itaweza kusaidia wananchi sana sana wale ambao wanatoka mbali na pia itaweza kusaidia katika kupunguza wakati wa kutembea, sababu hospitali katika taifa hili ni chache sana ambazo zinahusika mambo ama ambazo zinashughulikia mambo ya saratani. Na kwa hivyo wakati ambapo hii teknolojia itaweza kuwekwa katika sheria, itaweza kusaidia wananchi wengi katika taifa hili, mahali ambapo wataweza kuhudumiwa kwa haraka, na mahali ambapo pia rekodi zao zitaweza kuwekwa kwa matumizi ya hapo baadaye. Vile vile matumizi ya teknolojia yataweza kusaidia pia ama wananchi kushirikiana na daktari moja kwa moja, sababu taasisi ni chache, ama taasisi ambayo iko huku ya mambo ya saratani ni chache sana, na kwa hivyo hii itasaidia kupunguza msongamano katika hospitali, na pia kusaidia wananchi ama wagonjwa ili waweze kusaidika kwa haraka. Kwa hiyo machache naomba kuunga mkono. Asante.
Asante. Honorable members, I would like to recognize the clergy seated in the public gallery, the clergy from the National Independent Church of Africa, NICA, Embu Diocese. They are from Runyenjes constituency. On behalf of the House, I welcome you to the National Assembly. I would also like to welcome you on behalf of your Member of Parliament, the Honorable Karemba, who had already spoken on this motion. Honorable members, I would like to take this opportunity to call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to reply, but before I do that, I would ask to donate my few minutes I have to Honorable John Kiragu, Honorable Aden Haji, Honorable Susan Kiamba, and Honorable Andrew Odipo, and if there is more time, then Honorable Toitumu, but I think there is not enough time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Have 1 minute each. Let me have the list.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support this motion. First of all, I want to thank my friend Honorable Rahim for this motion. As I stand here, Madam Speaker, I recognize the seriousness of this problem of cancer in the country. I know that telemedicine and training of more specialists in this area will help in this country. We have an opportunity to exploit the digital superhighway that we are encouraging to have in this country. As we are here, Madam Speaker, Kenya and many world experts are meeting to discuss the control of radiation, particularly the ionizing radiation, which can cause cancer, and they have a big meeting in Nairobi. So, Madam Speaker, I know that by use of technology.
Honorable Aden Haji, member for Mandera West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Abdul Wadud, for bringing this. And I stand to support. First and foremost, I think the most important thing is to find out the root causes of the upsurge of cancer in this country. Few years ago, or maybe about 10 years, a decade ago, before a decade ago, cancer was a very rare thing in this country, but now it is too much. The root cause should be identified. The other thing is the telemedicine is really important because it will reduce the cost of travel, it will reduce productivity of people, and it is going to enhance getting expertise. That is world class of cancer treatment. The more in this country, the cancer is going high and high. At the same time, the oncologists are becoming more and more.
The Honorable Susan Kiamba, member for Makueni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also wish to put my voice to this very important motion, and we thank the honorable member who has brought this motion. And as everybody has said, cancer has made many families very poor. And anything that adds value, especially the telemedicine, is highly appreciated. However, I think we cannot just be recipients. We need our doctors and our experts to actually carry a thorough research so that we are sure this new technology is safe for our people. We don't just make money for people and we don't have clear ethics.
Andrew Kwame, member for Karachonyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to emphasize that cancer has caused us havoc in this nation. We need proper action so that we can reduce the impact of cancer in Kenya. The telemedicine method can help us because they have done enough research outside there. If we collaborate with them, we can make use of them to ensure that we reduce the number of sufferings we are going through in this country. I also emphasize on the research we need to do on our own so that we can be able to cover even the herbal medicine if that can help to reduce the impact of this dreadful problem we have in this nation. Madam Speaker, I thank my friend, the Honorable.
The Honorable Dawood, you have only 2 minutes to reply.
Madam Speaker, I don't want to be selfish, but I want to give just half a minute to Honorable Rael and half a minute to my sister, Honorable Edith Nyenze, if it's possible.
Please proceed and reply.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank all the members of Parliament who have contributed to this motion and supported the motion. Madam Speaker, it's very important that when this motion is signed into law, Madam Speaker, it should be put into action, because many a time we pass bills which come through, but the regulations are not there to support it. Madam Speaker, the most important, I believe, besides the telehealth and e-health, Madam Speaker, is the training of oncologists. Madam Speaker, oncologists are very important, and we have a shortage of that. With that, Madam Speaker, I beg to reply and request, Madam Speaker, that you defer putting of the question to the next sitting pursuant to Article of Standing Order 53.3. Madam Speaker, I beg to reply. Thank you.
Honorable members, putting of the question is hereby deferred to another sitting as will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Honorable members, and the time now being 1 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Thursday, 23rd of November 2023 at 2:30 p.m.